Hi friends, I'm the unicorn, Scotland's national animal, and I'm here to guide you through the magic of Scottish stories, traditions and tunes. Welcome back to our series, Scotland in Our Backyard, in partnership with North Carolina Humanities. Hello again, curious minds. First, I want you to meet our fantastic friends from Folklore Scotland.
I'm David White and I'm here from Folklore Scotland.
My name's Rebecca Brown.
Before we meet the amazing wizard Michael Scott, let's talk about something all stories have in common: themes. What kinds of messages do we find again and again in Scottish folklore?
Yes, Scottish stories have a lot of themes. We have lots of fairies stealing people away and taking them to fairyland. We have lots of witches and lots of stories about natural things like trees and rocks and how they got there.
That's a lot of different magical themes: fairies, witches, even rocks with stories to tell. It makes me wonder, do people still share these kinds of stories today?
It used to be a very common practice before we had, TVs and computers and iPads. Just because of the way that stories work, I think that there's always meaning and lessons that you can take from folklore.
So whether it's a story passed down from your neighbour or a tale told around a fire, folklore is full of ideas, like how to be kind, how to be brave, or how to understand the world.
There's a meaning that most of the stories had at the time that they were created, and that meaning has changed with the times. And we can now draw a new meaning and from those ones. So a good example, I think, is stories of witches. At the time, they were done to be wary of people that weren't quite normal or unusual, about being cautious around them. Now, actually telling the witch stories, a lot of what people look to is what we can learn from what did happen. So they're making sure that you are being accepting, welcoming, you're not labeling people.
That's so true. Stories are really old, and people have been telling them in all kinds of ways for a long, long time. They might sound a little different depending on who's telling them or where you hear them, but there's usually a message tucked inside. And sometimes that message changes to help us understand what matters today. That's the magic of stories. They grow with us.
It doesn't matter where you're from or where a story is from. They always have important lessons.
Stories help us grow, and they help us imagine new possibilities. And guess what? Dave said he'd be a wizard if he could choose.
There is a wizard in Scottish folklore called Michael Scott, and he was a very powerful wizard, and more powers than anybody else. He could create rivers and move cities and everything.
Let's see what we can learn today from a very legendary wizard.
A long time ago, in the Scottish borders, there lived a man named Michael Scott. Some say he was a real scholar who studied stars and science in faraway lands, but the stories say more, much more. People whispered that Michael Scott was a wizard. He could speak to books that no one else could read. He could call winds from the hills and make bridges appear where no bridge had ever been. One tale says he split the mighty Eildon Hills into three with a single spell. Another says he turned day to night with a word. He was clever, powerful, and a little mysterious. Some believed he worked for kings, others feared his name. But in all the stories, Michael Scott reminds us how people long ago used tales to explain the amazing and unknown. Was he a wizard, a scientist, or just someone who made people wonder? That's the magic of folklore. We get to decide what we believe.
Wow, we've learned so much today. We found out that stories can change over time, just like how the old stories of witches now help teach us to be kind. We met Michael Scott, the wizard of the borders, and learned how people use stories to explain big ideas, like rivers moving, bridges appearing, and even mountains splitting. Want to keep the magic going? You can download a fun wizard activity from Scotland, intheclass.com, Scotland in or backyard. You'll get to draw your own wizard, invent magical powers, and even give them a motto, just like we imagined with Michael Scott. Did you know that stories like this one travelled across the ocean with Scottish settlers? The mountains of North Carolina have their own legends, many with roots in Scotland. Thanks to North Carolina Humanities, we get to explore how these stories connect our past, our place, and our people. A magical tale can be like a mirror, showing us who we are and who we want to become. And don't forget, subscribe to our channel. That way you'll never miss a new story, and it tells us you want more magical videos just like this one. If you subscribe, we'll keep going. Want to explore even more stories like this? Check out our friends at Folklore Scotland to discover real Scottish legends, magical characters, and ancient tales. This video is part of our Scotland in Our Backyard series, supported in part by North Carolina Humanities, a state affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities. Until next time, keep humming, keep dancing, and keep discovering your heritage.